Welcome to the WhatintheShibal podcast with Soogia and Ed.
We're just a couple of Asian Americans talking shit about shit. But today we're actually 3 Asian Americans talking shit about shit. We are so lucky today to have our special guest,
Guy Tang.
Yay! Guy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I feel very special today.
You are very special. You're our first actual in-person guest.
First actual guest and
deal.
hair extraordinaire and TV star.
Yes, you might know Guy from his social media. You might know him from YouTube. He has a line of hair care products. He is a singer. And you might most notably know him from Bling Empire. Like, Guy, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to come see us because you sound really fucking busy.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot going on.
right, like,
That was a lot of hyphenates.
I know. Like when you put it all out there, you're like, oh, I really do a lot of stuff.
It's important to, evolve and do different things because they feed on each other.
Yeah. I agree.
So.
I agree. I think for us, we want to get to know you like the person, not just the personality, Guy Tang, because in getting to know you in just this short amount of time, I will tell you, I am so fascinated by you. I am so I feel so honored to even know you. I think you are such an interesting human being. So I mean, I'm not going to, keep blowing all this sunshine up your butt, but I'm just saying, I really
You don't
do
need
feel
to.
that
There's
way.
probably enough there. That doesn't seem appropriate. But for those of you that don't know, last week, before we had the episode, we went out and ate with Guy. And, just like normal Asians, we bonded over
Trauma.
Oh, yeah. And trauma. Nom-noms and trauma.
Yeah, noodles and trauma. It usually goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other when you're with a bunch of Asian people.
Yeah.
So we went and we had dinner, and then we went and had bingsu, which is something I've never had before, which is ironic.
Or shabu shabu.
I know. Well, I've had shabu, just not at a restaurant.
Yeah.
I know. It's really weird. I have feelings about that. But Guy introduced me to a whole new world of things. And
A whole new world.
yes, you did. But Guy, I think a lot of us know you, or those of us who know you as your social media or your television personality. But in talking to you, I was like, you've got a lot of layers. Like you have a lot of different, attributes and personality traits that I was really surprised to find out. I guess being on a show like Bling Empire, people will have these preconceived notions of who you are, because I think the show is just kind of geared towards a specific demographic and ideology. But I want to know a little bit more about Guy before Bling. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you came up?
You grew up in Oklahoma, right?
Of course. I mean, we did film a lot of that stuff on the show, but unfortunately, it all got edited out and cut out. But I wish it was there, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Everything's meant to be.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I get to be on your show your podcast and talk about these things.
Yeah.
But definitely being from Oklahoma, born in 1981, before there was social media.
Sure.
80s baby. Yeah.
There was no, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, none of that. No
There
Twitter.
was a TikTok. It was just like our grandfather clocks.
They TikToked, but not like
all
we
day.
TikTok.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much what the media feeds us,
Yeah.
right?
Were you born here?
Yes.
Okay.
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma.
And your parents are immigrants?
Yes.
From?
My mom is Vietnamese, my dad's Chinese.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you grew up in a, I guess I wouldn't say biracial, but multicultural household.
Yeah. I guess it's by ethnicity.
By ethnic household?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Is that a term? It
I
is
don't
now.
know, is that a term? But there is, a lot that goes into that too, because there are two different cultures. And so there are hierarchical situations that occur growing up, and so being the only few Asian people growing up in the 80s and 90s, you don't see much.
In Oklahoma, no less.
And back then there was no representation. I mean, it was like, you'll see Jackie Chan, but something that's where people would try to tease us and make fun of us.
Right.
And they would always do the eye gesture. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm familiar.
Yeah,
martial
Chinese,
arts.
Japanese.
The martial arts thing's always weird, confused me because it's like you're making fun of me for being able to kick
your ass.
What is that?
Literally.
You know what I mean?
But there's so much bullying.
There
And
is.
Of course.
And they'll make fun of my parents' accent when my parents pick me up, and they would just a group of them would just gang up and beat me up.
Oh my God.
That's so painful, Guy. I'm so sorry. I hate that so much. That's like one of the things I stand and am so loud about, because I think people really don't understand how difficult it is being not just singled out, but continually, picked on in that way. It had to have been so hard for you.
Well, and that's why what you do on TikTok is so impactful for people who don't have voices. So when I saw you guys, I was like, I wish I had you when I was growing up, you know? So to speak up on these matters.
We do hear that a lot. And that's something I'm actually really proud of. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And I think part of it for me and Ed is so that we can do that not just for little versions of you, but for little versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Or like that's how I see it. Like me telling young Soogia at like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, like, I know how painful this is. I know it fucking sucks. But you know, that's why we do it.
Yeah, I mean, but the same goes for both ways. You know what I mean? It would have been great to have someone like you growing up as well, someone who's very clearly comfortable in their skin.
You know who you are, and
Yeah.
you're
I do
unapologetic. Yes.
Back then, I might not have. I was confused with my sexual identity. I was confused with my racial identity, everything. Just because you never saw yourself on screen, you never see yourself in magazines, anything. And we're not seen as sexy, especially as Asian guys growing up.
Right.
And
Well, you are an openly gay man.
openly
you are married.
gay. I'm openly gay.
You're an Asian man.
Asian,
You're
yes.
openly Asian.
Yeah, I'm openly Asian.
Can we be closetedly Asian?
Some
think
people
so, but
are
they
in
try.
denial. Yeah.
They try.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I guess both of those marginalized identities growing up for you must have been a whirlwind of trying to kind of, because even just Ed and I as like cisgendered people have had a really hard time identifying like who we are and what our place is in the world. I can only imagine being that intersection for you must have been challenging.
I actually got expelled from high school and never graduated.
Really?
Wait, what for?
Well, the reason why was because at the time I had my friend take nude photos of me because I wanted to feel sexy as an Asian man, and I want to see myself on the photo. So I had her take photos of me, and we were, you know, just I had an album of me, and I said, "Oh my God, I feel so good. I feel sexy. I feel alive." And I wanted to hide it from my parents, you know, because they were cleaning my room. So I remember I brought that album, I took it to school to hide it from my parents. Yeah, and then they found it in my locker. It was so embarrassing because it was like you feel exposed and so vulnerable.
Literally and figuratively, yeah.
Yeah, and the principal was looking through my album, and it was so. They called my dad to come pick me up and look at these photos, and they say, "So what are you doing here? What does it look like I'm doing?"
Right.
I'm pouring chocolate syrup on my naked body to feel sexy, and for me that's so important because you know, like when we opened up those men magazines when I was a kid, you know, we go to Walden Books or those bookstores.
Yeah.
And these bookstores, they all have like these men magazines that people thought were hot.
GQ, Men's
They were
Health.
every race but Asian.
Yeah.
It was, you see Latino, black, white, everything but Asian. I go, but I want to feel sexy too. And I didn't, you know, when you're going through puberty,
Sure.
you're trying to discover your, you know, your sexuality. You're trying to discover your identity and be confident. But how can you when you don't see that reflection of yourself? You feel invisible. And that feeling of being invisible makes you feel like you don't exist. Worthless. And it doesn't give you confidence to be able to go out there and navigate and you know, do like, for example, do a presentation in the classroom because it's like they're all looking at me. They think I'm weird. They're making fun of me. I used to be that person that can never give a presentation.
So then you chose to be the representation you needed for yourself, and you did it on your own.
And that, you know, through my music videos, through being on YouTube, all those things, I like, you know what? If I'm going to be sexy, it's because I want to feel confident about
That is
myself.
such a great message, Guy. Like you just take ownership of your own self and sexuality. I think that's fantastic.
It took a long time.
I bet.
Because the thing a lot of people don't realize is that like we talk about our sexuality and our body, but it like seeps into every part of our lives, like our confidence. And like you said, even when you're giving like a speech in school, like the way people look at you, all of a sudden you start being like, what are they looking? Oh, because like I'm weird, or like you said, like I'm an oddball, or something about me is different, right?
Rejection hurts.
Yeah.
And sometimes when people reject you, you reject yourself.
Yes.
And that's the worst part. And you start to become bitter and angry. And that's why you see so many angry people in this world, is because when they don't feel good about themselves, they blame everyone.
Sure.
But sometimes you could take matters into your own hands and take control of that.
Yes.
Let that pain be your power, and let, you know, you harness it and you turn it into purpose. Right. And that's what I do.
I think I'm going to get "Let Your Pain Be Your Power" tattooed on my body somewhere. I'm
It's
pretty...
like the third tattoo idea you've had on this show.
By the end of this year, I'm just going to be covered.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have a song named Power and Pain. I wrote a
really?
song and a whole album based off of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stream it. Spotify.
Your songs are like very Yeah, your
Yes.
songs are really deep. When you listen to your songs, it's very clear that you have a very like concise
idea.
message, and you can like feel the pain, but like you can also feel like the struggle, and you're overcoming that pain. And like your songs are like very filled with a lot of positive hope.
And they're hot. You look so hot in your videos, and you just like own every second of it, like from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes. Like literally, you are so clearly being yourself, and I think that's so empowering to see. It's like, oh my God, like you have literally like completely put every part of yourself out there in those videos, and it's so obvious that like you are in full control of that. And that is so
Very
fucking
empowering.
badass.
A lot of people don't realize that, because when they see me on YouTube, I'm always happy talking about hair, but they don't realize the message behind everything I talk about. I embed them into my YouTube videos, and I embed them in each collection I launch in my brand. Like I name my collection, Naked or Shadows and Superpowers. Like a lot of these collections have a double meaning, a dual meaning to them. So it's about like, being vulnerable and, stepping into the light, and that's why shadows exist, and using that power from within to be the hero within yourself, and to realize that you are your own hero,
while also giving glimpses into who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people don't get it. They're like, I'm so confused about what he's doing. I said, like,
They're probably the same people that think that like your hair videos are just hair videos. But
Right.
if you really pay attention to your hair videos, there's a lot of conversation that happens in those videos.
we talk about everything from, discrimination, racism, homophobia, fetishization. We embed it into the message with my clients or my models, because when we are, as a stylist, when you are behind a chair, you're not only doing their hair. It's not just about, here's the formula and here's the technique, but it's also about the conversation. The connection. I mean, especially like clients in your chair for 6 hours getting, a color correction.
Right.
You're going to sit there, talk about like, what is it that you do? Why do you want to be platinum blonde? You know, what's the maintenance? And, because a lot of times your clients will tell you they want to feel like a new person because they just got through a divorce, or their boyfriend broke up with them, or they're trying to find self-confidence, or maybe they are looking inwards and want to project,
reinvent themselves, or emerge as somebody different, or with a newfound sense of confidence, or sometimes opposite. You know what I mean? Like you never really know.
Yeah, and there's so much stereotypes tied to hair.
Yeah.
Like, like long hair, short hair, why I need extensions, why I want to be blonde, redheads, curly hair, straight hair, so many. And people come and say, I need my hair short because I need to be taken seriously. I need to be blonde because, they think guys will like them more. They have long hair, things like that.
There's a lot of trauma just tied to beauty, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
So many layers. And that's why being a hairstylist, I get to see the vulnerability of all my clients, why having long hair is so important, why having short hair, and also identity. Like for me, having long hair as a man, there's stereotypes like, oh, you need to look like a real man or whatever. And I got so much hate when I grew my hair out because they say I need to look like a man. I say, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
And I've always, fight against those stereotypes, because beauty is in how you carry yourself,
Also, like, not to but like certain like barbarians or like Nordic, like Vikings and stuff, they all had long hair, and that's pretty fucking masculine.
It wasn't
to
that
me.
long ago that literally people were sexualizing man buns.
Yeah. Also, has
what I mean?
anyone seen Jason Momoa? Like he's a man.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of like misogyny underlying.
Yes, of
within
course.
these, like, like you gotta be a man's man, you gotta have like a beard and like, buzz cut, you gotta be a dude, you gotta be a bro, there's like this whole, what I'm saying?
For sure. Well, I think that was the thing that really struck me. And like, I'm going to just be open and honest with you. I didn't know really much about you. I just knew the few things that I heard about you. I saw a couple videos. I watched a couple episodes of Bling, and I was just like, okay, like I don't really know what to expect. And then we sat down for dinner, and I was like, this man has so much depth. And I call myself out for being like, you were really fucking judgmental, bitch. Like, you were really judgy. And I was. I'm going to be totally honest, because, like, I think to a certain extent, that's kind of what the show wanted to portray you as, and that's kind of what they gave us.
Yeah.
And for you, that must have been, like, really stifling and frustrating. I can only imagine.
I mean, it sounds more serious than you're saying it, but the way it came off to me was that Susie was just more like, I didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't. I was like, I have no idea. This is the small things that I've gotten. I was like, okay, we'll just see what happens.
Like I threw a penis pop out the window is what you saw.
Kind of, yeah. I was like,
But that was iconic.
It was.
Yeah.
I think that's the most memorable scene from the whole show. To
Like,
think so.
not even just for your
Overall,
story, like
for everybody.
but yeah, that was the funniest thing. The
I
drama that
still
ensued
laugh
with Anna. Yeah. Also, Anna, if you're watching this, hi.
Hi, I
wanna
love
be friends with you. Yeah.
She's very intimidating.
She
you know?
looks it, but I kind of want to, like, I don't know, be intimidated by her.
She has like a, I know what I mean.
Right?
She has like a mob boss aura.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She just like commands fear
But, like, it's
and attention.
so quiet and it's
She
puts
so
you in your place.
direct. But
I like that.
it's not like overt. She doesn't like try to like overpower you.
No.
She does it with this like restraint that I find terrifying.
Well, it's
that I
like
love.
actually, it's not fake.
No.
Hers is like from decades of some sort of like experience.
For sure. Something that really struck me when we were talking over dinner is kind of the perception, because Ed is a straight cis man. I am a straight cis woman. And we both, as like in our dating lives and our married lives and stuff, have navigated those things so differently because we were perceived so differently by society. And then you, the perspective that you gave me as a gay man and a gay Asian man, I was like, you were talking about that. And I was like, it never really occurred to me the things that you have to navigate. So do you want to talk a little bit about that to me? Because I was like, tell me more. This is crazy.
Well, being in a relationship with a woman first, because I used to be with a woman till I was 27.
Oh, okay.
So I came out the closet like around 28.
Okay. How long were you together?
I was with my girlfriend for the one that was a long time was 11 years since high school. Yeah,
Wow.
We were engaged. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it was hard defining sexuality because there is love and then there's sexual attraction. You know, sometimes you are emotionally attracted to people. And so I can be emotionally attracted to my girlfriend, and I couldn't tell the difference between love attraction versus a sexual attraction. So I was kind of denying that I was gay. I said, well, maybe I'm bi. Maybe, you know, maybe I just have an open mind, you know? I don't know. So I love her so much, and I still do.
Oh, good.
So that's why it's like, it was hard to let her go. But I realized, you know, she needs to live her dreams, live her life. She wants to have a family, have kids. And I was being inauthentic to myself, and I was hurting her along the ways. So the hardest part for me was telling her, you know, I don't love you anymore, because it's the only way she will let me go. Oh. She would not let me go. She said, I'll never let you go. And I was like, because I know you love me. And I was like, I have to tell her this only because sometimes you have to, you know, say hurtful things so they would let you go, so they can
release
be free.
them.
To release them. I cried for years.
Oh,
for years.
wow.
And I wrote many songs about
I
her.
bet.
my
Right?
Many
Sometimes
songs.
Heartbreak is often the best for creating art.
And so being in a relationship with a woman for a long time, as, you know, a straight Asian man in my early years, I get to experience what it's like to be with a woman. I realized a lot of guys would disrespect me. They will walk up to her at the mall, hit on her. Like, they'll just like, oh yeah, you have a nice ass. Oh, hey, you know, hey there, shorty. Like, they'll just hit on her. I feel so disrespected. It's because they don't respect me as a man.
Yeah.
I feel like they don't see me as a threat or see me as a concern. Like oh,
it's weird to go out of your way to be like, I see you below me.
yeah, it's almost like
Right.
they see me as her brother or a friend, but they don't even see me as a man. And I remember going home, going like, what the hell was that? You know, because obviously, I mean, she's beautiful, and obviously everybody, you know,
Was she Asian?
she's Asian.
So there was probably some fetishizing in there too.
Yeah, so-
'cause this
so-
was still in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, so I got to experience like how men fetishize Asian women and
Yeah.
how they kind of aren't threatened by Asian men, and
Yeah.
they look down on us as men. And I was like, I don't like that feeling. I was really disturbed because it's the mere fact that they don't respect me.
Yeah.
But then I'll talk to my other guy friends, you know, who had girlfriends, and they were like, you know, white or black or Hispanic, you know, Latino, and they didn't really have that problem when they're walking the malls with their girlfriends. It's,
Right.
it's only me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and mind you, when I was trying to be straight, I had like, you know, like all that buzz cut, and I had like, you know, baggy pants. I was trying to do the most because I was trying to cover up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I even presented myself differently. Because when you're in the closet, you kind of
overcompensate.
So you kind of present yourself like I was walking like this.
Oh, I can't even
and
imagine.
I was slouching, it was like torture,
Like you were playing a character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't doing hair yet, though, were you? You were.
I wasn't until 22.
Okay.
When I was about 22. But yeah, it was so traumatizing. I remember I tried to do everything to be extra muscular. I worked out every day, 7 days a week. I was, protein. I did everything.
Drinking Budweisers and fixing your truck.
Because like I want to prove myself.
Right.
And
you want to fit in. You don't want to get those horrible words said to you anymore.
And most importantly, the respect.
Being disrespected to your fucking face. Yeah.
And so, of course, coming out was a whole nother story too, because in the gay world, there's a whole nother stereotype about Asian men. They think we're submissive. They think that we're bottoms. They think that we, will just obey them in so many ways. And at the same time, it's usually older guys that are not a person of color that likes Asian guys. And so there's that fetishization of Asian guys. But at the same time...
They love to colonize.
They sure do.
But at the same time, when you're trying to be in a relationship with someone that maybe you're attracted to, a lot of times there's that rejection. Like, if you go on Grindr or any of these apps...
No Asians.
Yeah, no Asian. There's like, no this, no that, no Asians. And it's so strange because shouldn't you advertise what you want?
It's so dehumanizing. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and at that point, it's not a type. You know what I mean? When you have a type, it means that like you're normally attracted to these things, but the subjective word there is normally.
Right.
You're still open to everyone else.
How about, in your bio, whatever, description, leave a comment about what you like.
Prefer, not what you don't want.
Like,
right.
Guys who are 5'9" or who's into fitness, something like that.
Right.
But no, they're saying no Asians. To me, I compare it to like, can you imagine opening up a salon? No perms, no men's cuts, no highlights, no reds. I mean, could you imagine doing that? No, you
just do buzz cuts. That's it.
You want to advertise what you do.
Right.
Not what you don't do. And so there's a lot of discrimination in the community. And there's so much work that needs to be done. So in the beginning, when I first came out, I was go-go dancing at nightclubs. I was very, recognized for, being always sexy poster boy of nightclubs in West Hollywood. I would do meet and greets because I was always shirtless and in my underwear because I wanted to show the world that Asian men can be sexy.
Yeah,
right.
But you still have to toe that line though, right? Because you have the male sexuality aspect of it, but then you have that fine line of like, how far do I go until it starts to be fetishization, right? So that's a very fine line that you have to kind of straddle between because, and you talking about it, I know that Asian men are emasculated and continually not seen as like, sexual, sexy. And then as an Asian woman, I know the burden of the fetishization and feeling like lesser than a human because I'm supposed to be this submissive, docile, walk 10 feet behind you, whatever. And then simultaneously just this like sexual being only for sex, so there's all that. And you have all of those things coming at you at once. So in order to reclaim your sexuality, but do so in a way that doesn't turn the table on you so fast that you are now over-sexualized and then becoming a fetish. You know what I mean? Like that's gotta be a really hard line to draw. It's
very difficult because in, our world as gay men, there's like a bottom and a top, in the relationship. So there's that stereotype.
Is there never a switch off? I'm just asking. Like, isn't there?
I generally top, but I could be versatile. Okay. But there's a stereotype where they think that we're all bottoms. They think we're all submissive because it kind of aligns with the stereotypes how they perceive or see Asian women. They put Asian men in that. Yeah. And sometimes, I've met so many fellow Asian guys who was like, well, if you can't beat them, join them or just go along with it. That mentality. That all the time. It's like, why fight it? It is what it is. And I said, no, you have to, defy these stereotypes, defy it, do something about it. But sometimes it's like, some people just want to be loved so bad. Yeah. They want to be wanted so bad that they don't care how they're wanted for. Right. And that could be very damaging to our community. And that's why I do what I do with my music. I usually cast an Asian lover for because Asian, sometimes we reject ourselves
Sure.
in the gay community. So a lot of times you'll see Asian guys saying they don't date Asians. They want anybody but. And I was like, for me, it was so different because I grew up in Oklahoma where I don't see Asian men that much. So, I wanted to fall in love with an Asian man because it's a reflection of me falling in love with myself because I didn't love myself growing up. I wanted to be everything that I wasn't when I was a kid because I didn't see myself through that. And that's why it's like, that's why, representation is so important. And a lot of people dismiss that. Oh, you don't need representation. You can relate to the Little Mermaid, or you can relate to this character or the Prince or the Barbie or whatever. No, when you are 5 years old or 8 years old, you don't know how to vocalize it.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it does
affect you.
It messes you up.
It's embedded in your head like a microchip.
Right.
And you don't even know it until you're older. And then you start to find out like, oh, well, this is my preference, and this is what I like, and this is what I gravitate to. It's because it's already ingrained through the representation.
Like, are you not seeing the direct line between those two things? Like,
and
it's
honestly,
very obvious.
if you're represented on the screen, like, you don't have a say in this conversation.
Right, and it's always people who are like, why do you care so much? Why is that such a big deal? It's like, this is coming from you, somebody who's seen themselves in every show, in every movie, in every music video, in every single fucking thing in media, is now telling me that it's not important.
In fact,
how the fuck would you know?
In fact, you're so overrepresented that there's literally someone that looks like you, whether you're good looking or ugly or somewhere in between. Like, you can relate somewhere.
Well, and this kind of goes to that topic because a lot of people think like, well, Asians are represented. They're in movies in Korea. They're in movies in China. They're in movies. I say that's not the same.
I'm here.
I don't live there.
We're Asian Americans, and people don't know the difference between Asian Americans versus an Asian who is from Asia.
Right.
They just kind of put us all together in a box, and they said, "Well, just watch a movie in Asia." I was like, "No, because that's not my lived experience."
Right. And honestly, though, so for me, it's not just the representation for me to see myself. It's for other people to see me too, right? Because the limited amount of representation that we do get has formed this really weird like stereotype of what Asian women are, or what Asian men are, or what gay Asian men are, or whatever. And it's like such a narrow view that it's like, and then when I don't fulfill that ideal for that person, that I am now the outlier. It's like, no, the stereotype is the outlier. You're just getting a tiny bit of what a whole human is. And now you've assigned all of those attributes to me. That's the problem. That's the problem, not me. You thinking that it's me.
In fact, listening to you talk about how when you were dating a girl and those guys would say something to you, like that used to happen to me a lot back in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like whenever I would leave, whenever I would leave the bar, like with my ex-girlfriend who was white and she was blonde at the time, like a lot of guys, and they were all white, they always felt emboldened to like talk shit to me. You know what I mean? Like saying weird things like, "Oh, that guy," or like, "Oh, why don't you? What are you guys gonna go back and do math with him?" And I was like, That's the best you have, but like
the sexiest math ever, bitch.
If you want to talk about 1 + 1 equals a lot of other stuff, then yes. But listening to you say it though, it seems like it almost sounds like the same way that Asian women are treated, like that submissive thing. So like when they feel like they can talk shit to us, it seems like because they're like, oh, this Asian guy is going to just be like the Asian woman. They're going to be submissive and they're not going to do anything. And I could just like kick them while they're down.
It's a thing. They talk to you like you're a kid. And I'm like,
and they sound like a kid.
Right.
I'm 41 years old, and it's just that lack of respect, and they treat you like a child. Just because I know how to have fun and I'm silly doesn't mean I'm.
Because we look like we're
doesn't
still
make me a
teenagers.
fucking clown.
Yeah.
We may present a youthful appearance, but I am an adult. I am a man.
Yes.
And it took me all the way up till I'm in my 30s before I could say the word man to identify myself. Because growing up, I wasn't treated like a man. I didn't even know how to say the word man. Like for me right now, saying I am a man, back then I was like, oh, I'm that guy. Oh, I'm a guy. It's because you're afraid to take ownership of that word.
Right. Or it's like, it's that too masculine for me to assign to myself because I have not been allowed or given that permission to
you're not
feel
treated
that way.
like a man. And it's hard because, we talk a lot about misogyny and all these things, but we don't realize what it feels like to be emasculated. It's when you feel paralyzed, crippled to where you can't, be yourself, and you can't navigate society and have the same respect. Even if you're the smartest kid, if you are a doctor or whatever, it's like they'll come to you as a service provider, but do they really respect you?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that's the thing. It's like we're always seen as this service provider all the time as Asians.
So funny, we talked about that once.
Yeah,
too.
actually, there was a study that was done with it was like a survey, and they said that the majority of Americans trust Asians to be their literally doctors,
Nurse.
but they don't trust us to be their in-laws. So they don't want us to be married into them. They don't trust us to ever be the president. Or there was like a lot of
Lawyers.
other there were.
Power.
So there was a lot of those things where it's like, hey, we're okay with you being our doctors because like we've
were there.
seen doctors being Asian on TV. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Shout
think-
out to Christina Yang. But other than that, because that's the only representation of Asians that they saw, everything else is still like, even in fictional worlds where we've had black women presidents, like I don't remember ever seeing an Asian president, even in fictional land. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like
We just get vilified.
we do.
You know?
I
and
think
put
a
into
lot
these
of that
boxes.
too is if you look at the dynamic of like, you can be my doctor because you are still taking care of me. You are
Right.
giving me what I need versus the lawyer where you have to steer the ship and I have to listen to what you're telling me and advising me to do. It's the power dynamic.
And trusting that you know
Right.
more enough
Right.
than I do to get me out of trouble.
I'm in your care. You will take care of me. You will, I don't know, wipe my shit, whatever the doctor has to do
Right.
based on what they need, what their needs are, versus the lawyer's like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about the law. I'm deferring to your knowledge
Right.
to help me. Like, it's a very different dynamic. And I
Yeah.
think that's really interesting because we're always seen in this like submissive position of like, we are looking up to you to do what we need to do versus, us looking down to you to tell you what you need to do. It's very different.
You know, my husband's Filipino and he works in a hospital. And one of the things he said that was very interesting was like all of that, racism that happened to us after the pandemic situation. Everyone, they call it the quote unquote China virus. And all of a sudden there's all,
Shout out to Donald Trump. How's your indictment going?
when people were in the hospital, who was taking care of them?
Right.
Their nurses were Filipino,
Of course.
Chinese, Korean. They're Asian nurses and doctors taking care of them. But yet they were being racist towards Asians. And there's all these Asian hate crimes. And that's something I can relate to growing up because I was in a hate crime situation. When I was 16, on my 16th birthday, I had a gun held to my head because I was Asian. Because at that time, the girlfriend I had at the time when I was 15, turning 16 on my birthday, she was a white girl and her cousin had an issue with me being Asian, brought a gun over and tried to,
Jesus Christ.
And I will tell you, it took me, more decades to recover from that trauma.
I would totally understand if you hadn't recovered. You know what I mean? That's a fucking traumatizing thing to go through.
I saw so much blood. It was all over my house, my driveway, in my kitchen. People got hurt. When it was
whose
back up. Who
blood?
got shot?
Yeah. Well,
okay, well, they didn't shoot me. What happened was, this story is pretty intense. Okay, so my brother collect ninja swords. I know, don't judge.
older, younger.
He's older. So we put them on the fireplace. They're decoration, okay? And I know this may sound stereotypical or whatever, but some of the friends that I invited to my house at the time, because most of my friends growing up were all mainly, a couple white friends and
Oklahoma.
yeah, Oklahoma. And then I finally found a couple Asian friends and I go, I want to fit in so bad. So I go, oh, my 16th birthday is coming up. I'll invite, these 3 Asian friends I just met just because I want to belong. I have a crowd that looks like me.
Yeah.
So they came over. I remember they called me whitewash. They made fun of me and I didn't fit in with the Asian crowd.
birthday?
I know. It's like, you're so white. I was like, oh, okay. Because I wasn't Asian enough. I was so confused. I had like an identity crisis. I just wanted to belong somewhere at that age, right? So when they said, this party is dull, they want to invite more people. So they invite more Asian friends. I was like, sure, more Asians, we're all Asians. Yeah, cool. And so, and then they were older. Some of them were 21, 22, some of them was 19. So being 15, just turning 16, I was like, whoa, who are these older people?
Feels cool.
I feel so cool, right?
As a mother, I'm like, this is trouble. This is trouble. Get out of the house, everyone.
My parents left the house for me because they trust me. So they just left and just leave me with the house.
They're like, if anything happens, you guys have some swords.
Yeah. So the girlfriend called and it was so weird. She said, why wasn't I invited? And because at the time I just want to be amongst people that
Yeah.
look like me, you know, in my race, because I want to belong. So of course I didn't invite her at the time because I just, you know, it is what it is for kids. Then out of nowhere she starts saying ching chong and
Your
starts
girlfriend?
yes. It doesn't make any sense. And then I remember
It's always the default.
one of the Asian girls at the party got on the phone, and then she started, you know, get your ass over here and I'll kick your ass or something.
Oh,
and
she like heard her say the ching chong stuff.
yeah, she was pissed. And I said, hang up. I said, hang up. And then they kept calling and threatening. And then she knows where I live. So then she came over. And then, no, she didn't come over. Her cousin came over. Her cousin is the one that's really racist. He came over, you know.
He was just waiting for an excuse.
Yeah, had a baseball bat, a bunch of weapons, like hammer. I mean, you name it.
Jesus Christ.
And the problem was they were looking for me, right, Guy? And they couldn't tell me apart because there's other Asian guys there.
Oh my God, that's.
I mean,
Maybe-
by that point, we had
Maybe
like
the one time it's okay that it's racist, but
Oh
just
my
be like,
God.
yep, that's
Well,
not me.
Not unless someone else gets hurt.
there was about 18 of us there by that point. And so, you know, they were outnumbered because there's about 4 of them. And then they kept coming back. They were in a pickup truck, right?
No surprise there.
Yeah, I mean, it's Oklahoma. So they jumped in the back of the truck and drove off, but then they kept threatening us, calling and threatening us and won't leave us alone. Eventually, they came back around. This time they came with a gun.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so they couldn't tell us apart. So they were holding the gun up to any one of us. And we're like, oh my God, close the door, close the door. You know, I just remember us saying, close the door. We're trying to get in. There's a gun pointing at me and all of us just like moving around. And I remember one of the guys grabbed the first weapon he saw, which was the fireplace by the door. He just grabbed that sword and went out there and started swinging it. And it cut the guy's arms nearly off.
Oh.
Wait, the guy holding it or the guy with the gun?
The guy, one of the Asian guys at a party was swinging the sword in to protect me and to protect our friend that was having the gun held to us. So the guy, the cousin of my girlfriend, had his arms cut right here. And it wasn't sharp. It was a decoration sword. It almost cut his arms off. It took about 5-second delay before you see blood spraying.
Oh my
And I was like, oh my gosh. And just seeing that was so traumatizing. And then one of the guys next to us, which was one of our friends, he was close because he was confronting the guy, right? He's Asian too. He got his wrist cut. And so this is where the blood was all over the place. It was all over my house, all over the kitchen floor. It was a puddle. And I remember calling 911. I was the one on the phone calling 911. All the girls at my party was on the floor crying. We saw our friend on the floor turning really pale purple.
Oh my gosh.
And we thought he was gonna die, to be honest.
Yeah, I bet.
And here is my birthday cake with blood all over it.
Jesus
all over my thing.
Christ.
And I remember the ambulance came and they searched our house. You know, we got that caution tape around the house. Then we had we were at the police station the all night long, all the way till the sunrise till the next day, till like 9 a.m. in the morning. And they kept questioning us like multiple times. They were recording it, you know, to make sure the story was, you know, consistent. But when they printed the article out in the newspaper at that time, they vilify us. They made us look like we were the one with these ninja swords attacking them. And I was like, no, they came over to my house. They
with
came
a gun.
With a gun and tried to kill us. But the narrative was flipped and twisted.
Crazy
Who even believes
foreigners
that?
with
That's
your
crazy.
ninja tools.
Yeah.
This is like a bad
fucking
Quentin
crazy.
Tarantino movie.
Literally.
Honestly, the blood part was traumatizing because I was left. My mom came home. We were left to clean that up.
Oh my God.
So I was traumatized my whole life. So
I'm traumatized from the story.
I would have
like
passed
that's,
out.
yeah.
yeah, honestly, it was scared to live in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like I could get killed.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I
And then
didn't
you
feel
lived there
safe.
for like another 11 years before you moved?
Well, I lied to all my friends that I moved to California because I could not let them come back to, you know, at the time we didn't have social media, right? It's in the 90s. So when I told my friends I left, then the rumors spread around that he left, he's in California, so I'm no longer here because I have to protect myself, you know? And so I moved to a different district because I can no longer go to that school. And so honestly, you know, being expelled from school, all that trauma that happened to me, that's what gives me so much purpose in what I do. I have a mission of telling a story, sharing my life story, and making music. Through my arts, I want to empower people because I experienced firsthand, Asian hate crime, racism before, even before the pandemic. Because a lot of people think it just started now.
Right. Before the hashtags, it did exist.
The hate was always there, but it's because we have always been silenced. It's so hard to find these, these crimes because they silence our voices. Yeah. They cover it up.
Right. And even when we're not silenced and the story gets out, we somehow are the villain. Yeah. Right. It's somehow of our own design that we've created this mess.
We get gaslighted all the time. We get dismissed. We get minimized all the time because everyone thinks, oh, you're white adjacent or you're privileged or you don't know what it's like to face these racism. I was like, but I do. He called me every word you could think of, gook, chink, everything. And then on top of that, to go through that and then trying to discover your sexuality later on in life, you're like, okay, here I'm experiencing racism, then I'm experiencing homophobia. It was a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot.
It is a lot.
It continues
you
to be a
almost
lot.
died just being Asian. I would have been like, why would I ever come out of the closet? You know what I mean? Like, that's a double.
And all I want was equal opportunity. All I want was to feel good about myself and to feel desired like everyone else. But no, I get put in this situation where it's like, you're trying to be someone you're not in a big way, not just like, oh, you're changing your haircut. No,
right,
it's not
right. It's my whole identity.
It's something I can't change.
Right.
I cannot stop being Asian.
Right.
And it's so important to, be proud of yourself. Because when you're proud of yourself, it's infectious. You spread it to your children. Mm-hmm. You navigate society with confidence. And if we don't have that, then how do we go about every single day? That's why you see so many people, within our community that are confused, upset, hating, and hating on one another. Mm-hmm. You see it all the time.
Oh, I get it all the time.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, what I do is I always take a step back. I acknowledge the situation, figure out where this is coming from, because hurt people. Yeah. And then figure out where the hurt is from and try to source it, the origin of it, and have a conversation about it.
Right.
And situate and try to, because there's so much going on from both, Asian women, Asian men. There's so much that needs to be discussed and have a conversation about.
Let me ask you this, Guy. So you have all of these ideals, and I think your mission is very clear. But where did this come from for you? Do you think that this was all forged on your own? And I only ask this because your parents are immigrants of a gay son, which we know as a community has widely been unaccepted. And so for you to have these ideals of like pushing your message forward and really kind of, sustaining this ideal of, equality and equity and fairness and anti-racism and all of these things, did they come just from like your experiences, or did you have your parental support in all of this? Or is this something that you just kind of did on your own?
My parents never understood because, coming from a background where my parents never say, I love you.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, we hear it all the time in Asian culture. We don't hear, I love you. We're not very affectionate. And so I don't really share my emotions that much with my parents. I do a little bit more now as an adult, mm-hmm. but growing up, I didn't. So I didn't really have many people to talk to. So it was something I had to do, was to talk to myself. Mm-hmm. So I write poems and I do things like that, which now become lyrics.
So your art was what healed you and helped you.
So you found strength in yourself.
Yeah. And also, through doing hair,
yeah.
When I have consultation with my clients, and I saw how many clients who are insecure, mm-hmm. they talk about, why they're changing their hair and also how they feel about themselves. And a lot of them, they're all different ethnic backgrounds, Latina, Asian, you mm-hmm. name it. And I get to see so many perspectives of how many people are insecure. And we have conversation about race all the time. Mm-hmm. And again, I wasn't always perfect. I grew up at a time where there's times when I, wasn't sure of myself. I wasn't always this sure.
Sure.
I rejected myself too when I was growing up.
I think a lot of Asian people have this. I think maybe a lot of people, of Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, like in your journey to find your identity, a lot of times that comes out in like, well, if I can't beat them, join them. And joining them means that I also have to succumb to the stereotypes, or I have to also join in the poking fun, and I have to do the minstrel show and do the caricature of who you think I am, because I just, if nothing more, want to lay low, let alone have aspirations of actually fitting in. I just want to be under the radar for a fucking second, you know, and just like not. So if that means that I have to do and make fun of my mom's accent, so be it. I'll do it, because I don't know what else to do at this point, because obviously fighting it, it's exhausting.
Well, there's a lot of pygmies. You know, you heard of that.
Oh, sure.
A lot of Asian
we deal with a
Americans.
lot of them.
Yeah, we sure do.
They become pygmies because they want to be accepted. So they go like, they'll do things
Right.
almost like in obedience.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll shut up. Or they'll try to act less of themselves and pander. So they'll pander towards that, you know,
Out of like desperation.
Yeah.
desperation to be accepted. And that's why we never get taken seriously when we speak up about racism.
Right.
And every time we do try to talk about these things, they get uncomfortable. You know, they feel uncomfortable. And that's why it's like, for me, I have conversations from everything from the word Oriental that is bothersome.
We had a whole thing. You guys had a whole thing about that.
Yeah.
Actually, Guy was the reason why I found out about that video. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, and then also the word exotic. A lot of people think it's a compliment. But the reason why the word hurt us a lot is because the word exotic in the dictionary means from a foreign country.
Right.
It means you're unusual. And a lot of people who are not Asian think it's a compliment because they don't want to be basic.
Right.
So they think the word exotic means I'm not basic, I'm exotic or whatever. It's like, no, the word exotic is harmful with us, because guess what happens? They say go back to China whenever, for any situation.
It's a very short leap.
They can never picture us to be like leading the country.
Right.
We're never America. They never see us as American.
We're never, right, because we're exotic, right? We're not ever from here. We're from somewhere else. We've been transplanted like a fucking parrot or some kind of exotic plant, like, you know, and so we're not considered.
And there's so many times I say it time and time again, the word exotic is not a compliment for Asian people. And then they say,
Unless you're a car, maybe.
But you know what's interesting?
Even that.
But what's interesting is for them, they say it's a compliment because, you know, they say, who wants to be basic? And I have to clarify, okay, for you, it might be okay, but think about your audience. Or if you're gonna go into an audience full of Asian Americans and you're not Asian, you go up there, hi, exotic people.
Right.
How do you think that's gonna make them feel? Because they have always felt foreignized and disrespected in that way. Why would you do that?
Right.
And so that's why I said that. And also, it's very sexualized. The
of
word
course.
used.
I've never been called
like
exotic.
cars.
I've never been called exotic by a man who wasn't trying to have sex with me. Okay, like I very distinctly remember, like, Asian women, you're so exotic, and I love your freckles. And he tried to touch my face, and I was like, if you move your finger 1 inch closer to my face, I'm gonna fucking break your whole fucking hand.
It's not
it
a
was
compliment.
so gross. I was like, why are you calling me exotic and trying to touch my face? Like, get your fucking gross hand out of my, get away from me.
Well, that's why I always want to have these conversations with people, because some people don't know. So I do my best to educate them, but it's up to them to want to take action and move forward. But I'm telling you, the majority of them don't want to.
Yeah.
So they said, but it's a good word. It's not a bad word. So this is what I say. Okay, what about the word privilege? You don't like that word, do you?
Right.
You don't like that, but that word is not a bad word.
That's making you feel
It
some
means
type of
that-
way, doesn't
yeah.
it?
Guess what? We all want privilege, but why
Right.
are you so offended by it? Why are you so
Right.
sensitive to it, huh?
Right.
But it's a trigger word because
Right.
it means like they don't work hard enough, you
Right,
know?
right,
And so I was like, well, that's a great example. And it silenced them usually.
It is a great
And also another word is like the word bitch, right? Okay, would you call your mom a bitch? Would you call,
Some people do, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
of
not us
course.
Asian people.
No.
Not if you want to get beat at the age of
But now
30.
people say, but the word bitch is empowering. Like, hey, bitch, you know? And it's like, yeah, but you know your audience.
Context is very important.
It's the context.
right.
Thank
Like
you.
if I'm sitting with I can't remember. I think it was an author or maybe it was somebody. He was saying, this is a black man, and he's like, my wife and her friends call each other bitches all the time, but I don't, because the context is important.
right.
He doesn't walk into a room full of his wife's friends and go, what's up, bitches? Like, it doesn't go over the same. It's not the same.
Different context, different audience, and the same thing with the word exotic. If I'm talking
Yes.
about this exotic bird,
Right.
or exotic plant,
Right.
Whatever.
Fine.
It's different.
Right.
If you want to say you are and you are not Asian, okay, whatever, that's on you. But don't go around calling me exotic, calling Asian women exotic.
Right. I don't even call food exotic because it's not. It might be exotic to me,
normal.
but not to the millions and millions of
Yeah.
people who eat this food. Like
Every
it's not
day.
exotic to them. So like taking the stigma of like it's exotic means it's so different and foreign. It's like no, these people have this for breakfast
Yeah.
every day. Like it's not that
Just
different.
because you're uncultured doesn't
Right.
mean you have to stigmatize them. Stigmatize yourself. Be
Right.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I need more learning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you know what hurts even more? Okay, I'll give you an example. They said, but my other friend is Asian
They
and she
love
doesn't
it.
mind. I was like, well, she's probably not educated.
Yeah.
She probably
Yeah.
is a pick me.
She's a bitch.
Or maybe she's having totally different conversations when you white people aren't around.
Right.
Well, the thing is, your friend is probably a pick me too, and they
Right.
don't realize
Definitely.
it. Just because someone else is Asian and they're not offended doesn't mean it's not offensive.
Or it's possible that they haven't even arrived at the pick me status. It's like they just are so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable that they've just become complacent and they're just like,
don't
okay,
wanna
well,
argue.
whatever you say is fine because if I rock the boat, it makes me uncomfortable, it makes you uncomfortable, and I'd rather just not deal with that because I don't know what to do with those feelings and emotions versus being like, I'm okay being uncomfortable with you and I'm going to take you down this road with me because I want you to kind of arrive at the same place as me and why this affects me the way that it does. Those conversations are uncomfortable as hell. It's hard to be like, I just had to tell one of my friends of 40 years, I need you to understand that when I talk about representation in media and you say, what's the big deal? Any actor should be able to play whatever role because, you know, they're actors, that's their job. You are not understanding why it's so important to me. And I'm going to sit with you and make you really uncomfortable and tell you all the things that I've gone through with you, around our group of friends that have made me feel so strongly about the things that I'm talking to you about now. And it was very uncomfortable and he got very upset. I got very upset. It was the first fight we'd ever really had in 40 years, but I was like, you need to sit in this discomfort with me because I need you to experience for 1 second what that feels like. And for you, because you've never experienced it, you have no idea. So for you to try to involve yourself and give me advice on how to deal with it is really fucking condescending.
Yeah, and to not acknowledge it, like,
Right.
I don't know if you understand, that's like so important. It's grounds for like dissolving a friendship.
Absolutely.
And
I was ready.
I have. You know what I mean? Like I've dissolved friendships that I thought were like my best friends from like college and
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
because they were just like, there was just like some not understanding, and it wasn't necessarily directly tied to race, but it was like the undertones of the racial hierarchy
course.
that came through. You know what I mean? And when I tried to tell them, they didn't quite understand. And I was like, I think I need to step away
Right.
from this for my own mental health.
Well, and also your unwillingness to try to understand. It really tells me a lot about how you see me as a person
Right.
and the respect or lack of respect that you actually have for me. And that I know what I need to know. And
Because I know it may
I'm gonna
not
walk.
seem like to you, but I am in a fight or flight situation right now. And it would be
Right.
the same thing as if like we were getting harassed and like people were picking on one of your friends. It's like, would you stand there and let it happen?
Right.
Because it's the same situation to me. I'm in a fight for my life here, for my
Right.
identity. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think a lot of times, a lot of the pick-me's in their focus to try to save themselves and survive, I think they forget that, and it sucks for all of us who are in marginalized communities, but it's more than just us all the time.
Right.
We're always representing our communities all the time. So
Right.
when you are
whether you want to or not.
yeah, it's just a matter of fact. I mean, look at what's happening with basketball and that black and white, those two female,
Right.
you know, basketball players
Caitlin
like
Clark and Angel.
an
Reese.
Angel. Yes.
Yeah.
Caitlin and Angel, like the Angel is clearly, and she says it, she's like, this is more than just me, because that's just how it is when you're coming from a marginalized community.
Right.
And when you're so focused on your survival, you oftentimes forget about how your actions, your words are affecting the people who are in your community or around you. And
Sometimes people don't want to listen to this because they feel like, oh, it makes them
It's
uncomfortable.
so
It's too much. It's
negative.
too negative. But it's like, but you're living in a fake world. You like to pretend that there's no
Right.
problems.
Yeah.
But there is problems. And you should get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes.
And you should get comfortable with talking about uncomfortable things. How do you navigate reality?
Right.
how do you grow without being uncomfortable?
That's like saying, like, if you got an injury, just, oh, it's fine. No, it's not fine.
Yeah. There's blood all over my birthday cake. It's not fine.
It's not fine. But they don't want to hear the problem. And sometimes that's when you start to, friends will just dwindle away.
Of course.
Like they will just fall off because those people are only, what's it called? Fair weather. Yeah, fair weather friends. Like they're only there during the good times.
Right.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
But then there are also the opposite. There are friends who are only there during the bad times, and that's not good either.
No.
Do you know why?
Those, yeah.
Those people who are around you during the bad times, it's because they want to hear how miserable you are, because it makes them feel better about themselves.
Right.
So you got to have a very fine balance of not just the ones you just party with and be like, oh, happy times.
Everything's great all the time.
No. And I was like, life is not long enough. So
That's the truth.
yeah. So when we do have time, I want to spend that time,
meaningfully
yeah.
with
With
people.
intention.
With intention.
Yes.
That makes me feel good. Feel like that's purposeful.
Which is why we're best friends now.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why would you want to be best friends with someone who's like, oh, there's something wrong? You're like, the car is literally doing this. We clearly have a flat tire. Why
Right.
would you not want to stop to fix it?
If you're willing to deny this, what won't you deny? Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy to me.
But you know what they'll do? They'll leave you. They'll be like, okay, well, good luck with your tire. I'm taking an Uber somewhere. They'll leave you,
right,
obey
right.
you. And
You're
that's where the
this
problem
is
is.
your car and you're my ride and you're
Right.
taking the keys. What is happening?
Sometimes they don't want to be there to help you,
No.
fix a flat tire.
No.
They just want to be there for the fun times.
And those kinds of friends, I'm so easy to be like, okay, cool. I'm in a fight or flight, like you said, for my identity. I choose flight because I don't want to fight with you because you're not willing to listen. So bye.
Yeah.
Here I go.
See ya.
I'm fucking out. I can't.
Because this is not a good time.
No,
for
this
me.
is a terrible time.
No.
You suck.
I don't know if you noticed this, but like on my page, every so often, I like to post about Asian food.
Yes.
So I'll post about,
Same.
different Vietnamese food, Korean food, all types of Asian food. It's because there's so much a xenophobia towards our food. They think we eat dogs and cats and all these things. They think we started COVID. They think we eat bats and bugs. And I don't know what it is, but growing up, they always make fun of our foods.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but then they romanticize all types of other foods.
Oh, for sure.
But our food are so disgusting. I was like, no, I'm going to show off our food.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to eat it like this. It's
Chocolate
so
sauce
good.
again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want them to know what they're missing out
That's
on
right.
as they're eating their Lunchables.
Right. No,
You know,
totally.
eat your Lunchables.
I talk about food all the time. It is a very straight line to me. There's something very personal and intimate about food. Like, you literally eat it. You put it in your body. It on a
becomes you.
cellular level becomes part of who you are. Literally rebuilding your body as you go. It is a very important and vital thing. So that's why I talk about it, because I feel like it's something that people can kind of commonly understand, that's something that we all need. But I think, like you're saying, it's the same thing. The food, the accents, the way we look. It's all the things that they can do to distance themselves from us and keep us less, less human than they want us to be, because that makes it easier for them to not care then, and I think that's very much the reason people do that. And so, when I hear like, oh, the dog cat conversation, it's like, I get it. You don't want to see me as a human being. Fine. But you know what? I'm going to go to Hot Pot and eat the most fucking delicious dinner of my life while you, again, eat your fucking bagel. Fuck up.
And you know what
I love bagels.
Not that I don't love
No one
bagels. I
talks
love
about
bagels.
like the deer hunting. No one talks about the alligator eating.
Oh
here.
my God. I went to college with this white kid from Maryland who ran over a deer, put it in his fucking car, and brought it back home. It's sustainable, yes. I get all of that. But like,
That's a lot. Were you with him?
actually, now that I think about it, I don't think he even hit it. I think he saw roadkill on the side of the
No, he
road
just-
and brought it back.
Yuck.
And then he like made jerky and like steaks out of it. And I was like,
Here's the thing. There are countries that eat, I think it's Italians, maybe the Spanish, I don't know, eat cheese that have
Moldy.
live
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
maggots.
yeah.
No, maggots
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah.
Fish
It's
that has
French.
been soaked in lye. Like all kinds of really, I won't say gross, things that are unusual. But you're
wait,
right.
how about this one? How about fast food places? They literally bleach their meats with ammonia. You're literally eating bleached meat on a
Delicious.
regular day.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
what?
But our food's disgusting.
Yeah. There's something
Yeah.
against us, and I don't understand it.
I think it has a lot to do with what you said before. And it's always about them. It's
Right,
rarely
right,
ever
right.
about us. Like I had a white friend who one time he had yellow fever for sure. I used the term friend loosely. We were work friends, but he told me multiple times, he was like, man, you're so lucky. And this was going through a time when like I hated my identity. You know what I mean? And I was like, I thought he was fucking with me, but he always was like, he's like, it sucks being white. We're just like so lame. You know what I mean? And sometimes I wonder if between the fetishizing or even the way they put us down, it's because they just feel so, maybe like they fetishize exoticism because they feel so blah.
They want to,
plain.
there's I mean, especially with all the trends that's going on right now. You see like the fox eyes.
Lip injections, the butt implants, all of that.
Also the wannabe Asian, the wannabe black, wannabe Latinos. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
But then they don't say that. But then the features.
Look at the Kardashians. You know what I mean? They've done everything to not look like the Kardashians in every possible way. Like when I see a picture of Ariana Grande, and I'm like, why is that Japanese girl name Ariana Grande? Like, what's going on? Like, it's so funny. And that's the whole thing about appropriation. You will just take the bits and pieces that you like and then just throw the rest in the trash and like not care about any of it. You know, like when you see Kim Kardashian with cornrows, it's like, the fuck are you doing? Like there are literally black women who cannot get jobs because of their hair, and you want to just exploit it for your own benefit? Like that's
layer
gross
one.
To
layer
me.
2 is like, you have black children.
Right. Like what message are you sending them now? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to like talk about Kardashians because I'll probably have an aneurysm. But that's the thing is like, you'll take what you want. You know, and even with food now, right? Certain foods, Asian foods, it's like some foods from Asia are okay, and then some still are not, but they're all still kind of dog. It's like, we can't win. We can't win this one.
And the thing is, like, some people do make mistakes. It's about them owning it. Like, if they don't have the knowledge, if they don't know, I think it's taking that step of saying, you know, I messed up. Right. I'm not perfect. I'm learning, and
accountability.
I didn't realize. Yes, accountability. To own up to and have responsibility to say I messed up is very important.
I say this all the time. Is like, it's okay to not know what you don't know.
Yeah.
But it's what you do with the information once you do know that makes all the difference. Yep. Like I have told countless people, this is why when you say you go to a certain restaurant, you think you're eating dog. This is why to B, to C, all of the reasons. I will list you the reasons why these are harmful. And if you take that information, you say, well, I still don't care. Well, okay, well then fine. You're a fucking asshole. End of story. But if you take that information, you say, I didn't consider these things, I will take this information and I will try to digest it and understand what it is you're trying to tell me and do better from there. That's all I want. I don't want anything else. That's it. Yeah. It's so simple.
I remember this very racist moment that I was in Kansas for work. This was back in like 2007.
Kansas.
I know, right? So I was working for another hair company at that time, and I was riding around with our sales rep, and she said, what do you want for lunch? You know, in between work, you know, we'll go grab something for lunch. And I said, well, I want Chinese. And she's like, oh God. And she had this disgusted look on her face. She goes and then she started naming all these like Chinese restaurants that she claims that they kill dogs in the back.
Oh yeah, she knows about it.
Yeah. And I go like, what? And so I was offended, but I was like, how do I tell this lady? Because my parents own the restaurant. So I was like, my parents don't do that. We have actual pets that we love. But you know what was crazy is that neighborhood that I lived in with all my pets, they spread rumors that we're raising our dogs to eat them.
Oh yeah.
There's like all these rumors and it's so normalized and everyone thinks it's funny. Ha 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 ha. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
Oh my God. It's just a joke is the most annoying thing
There have been Asian restaurants that have been closed down because of rumors. Like because people started rumors, people stopped going there and they had to shut their doors. It's like your funny jokes, your little rumors are actually affecting people's lives. It's not a fucking joke. This family has now lost their income because you started a rumor that they serve dogs. And now what? And now they have no income.
You're not even being an original because that rumor started in the 1800s during the gold rush in San Francisco because they banned Chinese people from not only being able to enter the country, but from being able to work in the gold mines. So the only way they were able to sustain themselves was by opening Chinese restaurants. And that's how Chinese American food was born. But then they got jealous that they were being profitable with that. So then they started spreading rumors that these Chinese restaurants were like killing dogs and cats. So like, not only is it not a joke, but you're not even original, but two, there is a shit ton of history where that came from. And all you're doing is just expressing how fucking ignorant and uneducated you are.
I love how you said Chinese American food, because a lot of people dismiss like Chinese American food as not authentic. That's like, well, it's authentic to us.
Yes.
We grew up here as Asian Americans. This is the kind of Asian food we grew up in our restaurant. This is how we survive.
Right.
This is how we make a living. It might not be the same type of food from China, but this is a food that we had growing up here, because these are, you know, the vegetation we have. These are the type of,
your resources.
The resources.
Right.
And the palettes that we alter to fit your palate. You know what I mean? So not only is it just like a means of survival, but it's like history that we were able to adapt and thrive. And that clearly bothers you.
Right.
Because, and people would take that away and say like, that's not authentic. It's like, they're two different things. You know, don't make us feel invisible here. This is our identity that we grew up, and I'm proud of it, because I grew up eating sweet and sour chicken and orange chicken. Yes,
I love
but
it.
all of a
So
sudden
good.
you have people. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And that's why I don't want to dismiss that and call it fake Chinese food. No. It's our experience.
It's real Chinese, because I'm Chinese. Well,
Yeah.
I'm Chinese.
Yeah.
You know, it's Chinese food because it's food and I made it and I'm Chinese. So there you go.
Yeah,
Invented
exactly.
it, right.
And I think that's something that a lot of people don't focus on much, is like the positive things that we've done as a collective and a diaspora in the United States, particularly. I mean, to take the things that we've had to endure and still be able to come out of it and create and imagine and, you know, make these beautiful things, and the fabric of all of our cultures woven together. You know, Korean American culture right now, I think is I'm so proud to be part of it. You know, Asian American culture in general, I'm so proud to be part of it, because I think we're finally starting to see the rise of people like us and the you know, television and YouTube sensations of you know, our people, and to see that, I think is so encouraging. And I think that's what I think I could probably say as a collective we all aspire towards, is to like look at the next generation of like Gen Z coming up now and seeing them really like fend for themselves and take these stands that we were afraid to take. I like to believe that because of people like us, we're starting to kind of like forge that path for them, make the path easier for them. And I think with those two things connected, like us forging this path and them having the desire and the bravery and the courage to do it, I feel like we are in for something really spectacular in the very near future. I think I look forward to that.
With social media,
Yeah.
like it opened doors for like, you know, K-pop and K-drama. And in the past, if we went the traditional media route, it was so controlled.
And so slow.
It was controlled by, you know, what the narrative is. But the numbers don't lie when everyone wants to watch BTS and Blackpink and they want to see something different than they're used to, or they saw the beauty in Asian men, and people want to see more Asian pop stars.
Right.
And then
and learn to speak Asian languages. Like watching like these like 14, 15-year-old girls and men, boys, whatever, all speaking Korean better than me. I'm like, this feels,
because they're proud.
it feels so crazy.
because we grew up, you know, questioning ourselves. And, and that's why, like, if we didn't have social media, none of us would have been here. I wouldn't have met you, you know, on TikTok.
Totally.
I wouldn't be making music. I wouldn't be on YouTube. Social media gave us a platform to connect with people like us. And in the past, the traditional media wasn't like that. We were stereotyped with like the nerdy Asian guy.
Right. I could have maybe aspired to be a newscaster, maybe. And that was probably where the line was going to be drawn.
Yeah.
And that was that, you know, if I wanted to be in media. So you're absolutely right. I think this has given us a lot of through lines to reach people.
And the thing with a lot of companies is a lot of times they have this check mark, you know, like, oh, you know, June is Pride Month, or this is Asian, you know, month or whatever. It's really important that you don't just do it within that month. You have to keep it consistent through your life. Your entire life, you have to live it, breathe it, stand up for the LGBT community, stand up for the Asian community, people of color. Don't just talk about it during the celebratory month, but always celebrate people. And even though we speak up a lot about like being ostracized and minimized by, you know, non-people of color, you know, with my friends who are white or black or Latina, I always, you know, have an exercise conversation. Like if they say something that I find offensive, I'll say, let's talk about it. This is why. And I want them to hear me out, but sometimes they don't. And I'll remind them. And sometimes every time I remind them, it bothers them. Like, oh, here he goes again. It's like, but I want to give them that chance. It's like, okay, maybe this is a better opportunity. I'll say it again.
Right.
And, you know, whether they think I'm being annoying or not,
Oh, well,
they need
be annoyed.
And
So that's more about them.
Yeah.
And that's why this is important, because they see all three of us together talking
Right.
about something,
Right.
and it's not just me; it's
Right.
a lot of us.
Yeah,
And
there's so many more of us than we think, and I think that there are so many young. Well, I don't even say young. There are so many Asian Americans that I've come into contact with because of social media that I'm like, so I'm not alone. So I'm not the only person feeling this. I'm not the only one who's dropped a lot of dead weight in my, personal relationships. I'm not the only one that has been a victim of X, Y, and Z. I'm not the only one that has had issues with my parents. I'm not the only one. So the list is long, but the group is growing. And I think that is so encouraging to me. I mean, like if I had never met Ed, honestly, like so many of these conversations for me, I probably would have just rattled around in my head for a second and then been like, it's too much. I don't want to think about it anymore. And now, having Ed in my life, I've been able to like really tap into so many deeper things. And I think it's like a concentric circle, right? You drop the stone and you get all this concentric, because of our conversations, other people are having conversations. Those people are bringing conversations to other people. And it's like, I just see this growing. And I think it's so, I don't know, it makes me so hopeful. And that's not, it's honestly not a feeling I'm that familiar with a lot of the time. Feeling hopeful is a really unfortunately rare feeling for me, and I do feel it now.
And that's why when I first met you and saw you, it was important for me to tell you, I watch your content, I watch your videos, they're impactful, and I thank you for it, because you need to know that you impact so many people like myself, and so many other people. Imagine that.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate
that's why I'm so happy to be here, and that you invited me on your show.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you.
You have
Actually,
been a
we're the ones that
dream.
have been giddy this whole
I
time.
know. I was like, oh my God, he's gonna come. But no, I mean, these relationships, I think that we're all making, and these pathways to each other, I think is so vital and so important. And it makes you feel, and I'm sure, Guy, that there is a young, gay, Asian kid somewhere in Oklahoma that's like, wow, look at that guy, little guy. Look at him. He's everything I aspire to be. He really understands himself. He's so in touch with who he is, and he wants to prove that he can be all the things he wants to be. And I think I can do that, or at least I can try. Or at least when I feel self-doubt, or I feel like there are too many powers working against me, I'm going to take that pain and turn it into my power. And that is, wow, how amazing. Like, we're so lucky. So lucky to have you.
Thank you.
The ability to build community nowadays is like so insanely positive. You know what I mean? And I think that's partially what the government is afraid of sometimes.
Of course.
The fact that like they can't control us, because like even myself when I used to live back in Philadelphia, whenever I used to try to have conversations about race or anything that's inappropriate or racist, a lot of my white friends always used to default to, but you're the whitest guy I know.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So like I literally used to get gaslit all the time by making it feel like I was being overly sensitive. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I moved back to Los Angeles that I was speaking with people of color at my last job, where I told them that story, and literally every single one of them were blown away. They were like, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard. And I was like, oh my God, it is, right? Because I literally was thinking that I was being oversensitive and that something was wrong with me.
Sometimes you need the validation.
Well, sometimes people confuse colorism and racism.
Yes.
Because, like with Asians, there's some that are light skinned and some that are darker skinned, and there's different shades. And people think when you're light, then all of a sudden you
don't have any problems.
Then you don't have any problem. I was like, I get that I'm lighter, but I'm still Asian.
Right.
And they're confused. And then all of a sudden they put you like, oh, you're white. I was like, I'm not. I've never felt that way.
I've never walked into a room and had somebody mistake me for a white person.
Other than when they ask me why I'm so tall.
Right.
Yeah.
That's strange to me, like, because there's tall and short in every race.
Yeah,
Right.
I know. So ignorant.
So ignorant.
And even with body parts, like our genitals.
Like Asian women having sideways vaginas.
Oh God, that doesn't even make any
What
sense.
does that even mean?
I don't know. I've heard that Asian women have sideways vaginas. I'm like, well, then don't you think Asian toilets would be different? Like, I don't even know.
Do you have a round vagina? I don't understand
is it
what
like a
that
left
means.
to right thing, or like what do you mean? Like, what does that even mean? But
is your vagina boring and tasteless? What does that mean?
It's so strange. There's so many, and that's why I proudly just pull out pictures of naked Asian men with big penises and show my friends. Whenever they bring that up, I say, here. In fact, here's mine.
It started when I was 16 and this book ended up in my locker.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's just so silly because like how many dicks have you sucked to say that? It doesesn't make any sense. Like,
that's a really good point, Guy. I think we should have people just have cards that say,
funny.
what's your frame of reference?
An updated study came out recently. I don't know all the numbers because, again, apparently I'm just not prepared. But,
wait, there's a button. Crickets.
But a new study did come out. I think some Asian countries were updated as having some of the largest and most growth over the last decade or so. And I think it was like Thai, maybe even Vietnamese. You know what I mean? So it was just like
at one point in my life, I was very I have a slutty moment in my life. Like I used
same.
Yeah, so during my slut phase era, I've been around.
Your whole phase. It ends at some point.
And yes, I've encountered many large Asian men. And I loved it. And I had a great time. And the one that I remember, he's a Vietnamese guy in Long Beach. He had a 9-inch penis.
Damn.
And he even offered me sticky rice afterwards.
He sounds like a gentleman.
Yeah, the one that was wrapped in the tea leaf is so good.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's his name? Does he say I want mango.
Well, I don't remember his name.
For me, damn it.
I just remember his screen name. And his screen name was Big Asian Cock. It was that simple.
I thought it was gonna be 9-inch, but I thought it was gonna be 9-inch banana leaf.
So I go like, okay, I'm coming over, and I came over, and there it was. And you know what? And he wasn't like very tall. So this goes back to your height doesn't measure
your foot size, your hand.
None of that. He was a shorter guy, but he has this 9-inch dong, and I was like, this is amazing.
What a good day.
What a great day.
For the community, for all of us.
I encourage him. You should post more of your pictures on everywhere.
Everywhere.
Let people know.
Anywhere.
Be a model. Show this off. Attach your face so they know you're Asian too. But seriously, I've encountered many, and I'm proud of it to say it. And I don't talk about this on my own platform, so I'm glad that
we're glad we gave you the space, and we're glad you're comfortable enough because this is amazing.
I got this safe space.
It's okay. It's gonna happen.
2-second break.
2-second break.
Let's recover from the 9-inch dong.
It's gonna take longer than 2 seconds.
Look, in the past we used to shame people.
Of course.
People slut shame people, and they sex shame people, and I'm tired of shaming people.
No way.
Let people.
Unless you're racist.
Let people be people. Let people have a story.
Yeah, racists get shamed, but everybody else do your fucking thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you weren't allowed to talk about these things at work. You're not allowed to talk about, because it's too sensitive topic. No, if someone says something racist to me, I should call it out.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it turns into a whole thing if you say it out loud.
Right.
And
the thing about the sexuality conversations, though, for me as an Asian woman, I do have to be really cognizant of how I'm speaking about it. Not among my friends or whatever, but publicly, because as an Asian woman, we have this stigma of being overly sexualized, geisha, Vietnamese, me love you long time prostitute. So when I talk about sexuality, even if I say the word sex, people will say the craziest, most disgusting, misogynistic, racist shit to me, you want to suck the white man's dick or whatever. And I'm like, all I said was sex. I didn't say anything about sucking dicks. I didn't say anything about a white dick. I said nothing.
But I see where your head was at.
Right, exactly. And it's so I have to be so, unfortunately to a fault, because I love talking about sex. I love talking about sexuality. I love talking about sexual exploration. Right. I love talking about it. I think it's such a human thing. But when I talk about it, it's you're a whore. Because there's a whore.
There's a stigma.
And I'm like, I obviously have had sex. I have children. But I can't talk about it. It's so frustrating. Or immediately the conversation goes to massage parlors or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I've been to Burke Williams a handful of times. That's the best I got. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. And it's they want so badly for us to fit into this fucking stereotype, and they're so harmful. And it's I can't even talk about sexuality as a woman, that other women look up to because I can't have the conversation because I am what you think I am. You know what I mean? It's so frustrating.
Like a harmful stereotype.
Of course.
Oh my God.
You know, and some people think it's a compliment that you're desired or wanted, but it comes but it comes with all these things that you're
It's not a compliment to feel like people think that I'm purely
thing.
an object.
A sex toy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my friend reached out to me today and stated she lives in the Hollywood Hills. She stated that one of her neighbors, who's actually gay, he's gay and German, but he's throwing a birthday party.
No, I don't want to know.
That's geisha themed.
No.
Yeah, and she was like, I just need to really vent about it to somebody.
She's not going. Was she invited?
No. She was like, I was like, I'm assuming you found out because you got an invitation. She's like, yeah. She's like, I really want to go to tell him off, but she's like, I'm not. She's like, 'cause I can't.
Have her send me the invitation and I'll do it.
I don't think it. I tried to. I was like, there isn't like an invite, right? No, she's like, no, he just invited me. Like, I think it was like a verbal invite.
In the year 2023, we're having geisha birthday parties. Are you fucking serious?
I mean, like, insert geisha with any other protected, marginalized classes, character figure, problematic. Just like remove the Asian part of it, and like let's talk about the fact that in 2023 trying to have like a prostitutes and hoes party, still inappropriate. But for some reason you add Asian to it, and it's like fair game.
Right. Oh God. I think we should.
And it's not just a joke. That's how we get
crash the party. Do we
dehumanized.
have the address? Look, I got your geisha right fucking here. I'm going. I'm gonna go into your emails. I'm gonna find.
You know, that's why these conversations are important, because we get to understand each other's, you know, different types of traumas that affects us. You know, because there is different genders and different sexualities within our Asian community.
Right.
That when we discuss it, we start to understand why we have these problems to begin with.
I mean, I will tell you, perspective is everything. You know, and having Ed as my podcast partner, and hearing the perspectives that he gives as from so many different parts of his life, being, an only child, being the child of a single mother, being, a man, like all of these perspectives, they're so different to me. And I'm like, it's so insightful to be like, to see it from somebody else's viewpoint really does give you an understanding that you wouldn't otherwise have. But so again, to your point, like, yes, these conversations are imperative that people be like, I think it's really important for women to hear my stories about not being able to talk about my own sexuality because of those reasons, and be like, I never would have thought about that. That's not a perspective I have ever even considered, that has ever even entered the sphere of my consciousness. Yeah. It's so important. And vice versa, hearing the perspective of gay men, of Black women, of Hasidic Jews, like all of the indigenous people that disabled community, all of these communities that I've become, aware, not that I wasn't aware of them, but that I've become, that I've, started to really listen to. I'm like, I've never even thought about that. That never even occurred to me, that you have to live in the reality of X, Y, and Z is so eye-opening. And I will now be more aware of it and more conscious of it, and therefore hopefully more empathetic and sensitive to it in the future, going forward, whatever that may be. And I think that's the only way. It's the only way humanity can survive from where I sit.
I've heard people say they wish we could go backwards or something because they think that...
Oh, make America great again?
Yeah. Well, because a lot of people think that people are too sensitive. I was like, no, people have always...
We've always been fucking sensitive.
Yeah, it's just that no one was listening.
Right.
And then we didn't have the proper platform.
We didn't have a safe space to say it.
Yeah, and now we do.
And also, what is wrong with being sensitive? What is wrong with being woke? What is wrong with being a social justice warrior? What is wrong with being somebody who has a heightened sense of awareness? There's nothing wrong with that.
People just want to be asleep. That's why. They don't want to wake up.
Well, that's the crazy part is that, like, I'm like, did you think this through before you started to try to use it as some sort of slight?
Insult.
Because, like, if you're not woke, what are you, dead?
Unconscious?
So you're cool with being
comatose?
dead?
Because somehow the word woke became a bad word for people, and it's actually a good word.
Right.
It's about, understanding different communities.
Having awareness.
Yes.
Like, why would you not
standing
want
up
that?
for justice?
And also, more importantly, why do you think that's insulting to me? It's like, Thank you.
Yeah.
You think I have a heightened sense of awareness? That is a
have
compliment.
you have to be somewhat intellectual to learn these things or deduce these things. So it's like, thanks.
I let information go into my brain.
And then stay there.
And people are even
it?
sensitive to the word activist too. Because they think that you're causing a riot and you're causing chaos. But no, activist is, you're standing up for justice. That's what the word means.
And I think a lot of people think that activism solely lives in like going to protests and doing. No, activism can be very quiet. It can be just having a conversation. It can just be standing in the way of somebody doing something unjust to someone else.
Yeah.
However that may be. It doesn't have to just be us screaming on a picket line or, I don't know, going to the buildings of Congress or the federal building. It doesn't have to be that.
It can even be something as small as like just saying no to something in your own life. You know what I mean? Like standing up for yourself. That's
standing up for something.
Advocating for yourself.
Yes.
Or, something as small as like making a video when you see something unjust happening to another community and advocating for them. That's like, what's wrong with that? Like who would have objections to that? The people who want you to continue to live in ignorance.
Right.
That's who.
And they want you to live in silence.
Right.
Yeah, the people who are okay with the status quo because they're benefiting from that privilege.
They
There's
can
that
suck
word.
on a 9-inch banana leaf for all I know.
Yeah.
Choke on it.
Yeah. Full circle. Yeah. Where are we?
I like how you bring it full circle.
I really like a callback. It's kind of my
Closure.
But the closure is we have so much to be proud of as Asian Americans.
I think
you
so.
know, and even though life can be struggling at times, there's so many things that are so exciting, like the things we bond on, right? And the experiences we have. Because imagine if you had a life that you only eat Lunchables and you didn't get to eat all these different like Korean barbecues and hot pot, shabu shabu and dim sum. You know, like we get to experience such good food. We get to experience so many different cultures from our parents. And I would never take that away.
No.
You know, of course, growing up, we were made to be ashamed of it. But it's like, you have no idea how, this is a blessing to be able to have this experience. And we turn it into purpose, which gives us power.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're absolutely right.
It's crazy that I was once bullied for eating kimchi, and now people are using my grandmother's kimchi recipe.
I know.
Throughout
It's
the world.
awesome.
Like,
And they're
that's
even
crazy.
appropriating it too in different ways. But that's
For
a whole
sure.
nother conversation we'll have.
Probiotic cabbage. Bitch, that is kimchi. Shut up. Fuck you. God, it pisses me off so much.
I use
Spicy
chipotle powder.
probiotics.
And they changed the names of like fish sauce. Those to like what's it called? Vinaigrette, lime vinaigrette, like
Aquatic vinaigrette.
because it has to serve a palate to sound more appealing.
It's also just stealing. People just blatantly stealing things that are other people's and then
But
pretending
then,
like they
what
made
does
it.
it also say when you're like, it needs to sound more sophisticated? So because it's Asian, it's called fish sauce, the most obvious name ever. It's
Right.
not sophisticated.
Right.
Yeah, again, there's a stigma, but we'll be here for another 3 hours.
I
talking
know,
about that.
literally.
But I'm so happy that we're here together. So.
I think so. And I think, for all of the ills that social media has brought, I will say to my life, it has brought so much more positivity. Like, yes, do I have to deal with a lot of, hate speech and misogyny and all that stuff? Yes. On a daily basis, I absolutely do. And are there times where I'm like, I can't take anymore? Sure. But I think, right. But I will say that the things that it has afforded me and the relationships that I've been able to create and cultivate and nurture far outweighs the bad, honestly. Yeah. And I think this is a perfect case in point, is just having you in our lives now is like such a blessing. And we are, again, I cannot stress this enough, beyond honored and thrilled for you to have joined us today. Yeah. Thank you so much, Guy.
Thank you for having me.
So, but before we go, is there anything that you'd like to, I don't know, people do this on podcasts, promote, while we're here?
Well, definitely stream my music on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. check out my product line named Identity. And
Your hair, is it hair care, like hair dye, or is it all care, like all the way around?
yeah, we have a shampoo, conditioner, treatments, and color conditioners. I have a whole hair color line, but that's for licensed professionals.
Okay.
There's a message within every collection, you know,
I
like
love
I talked
that.
about. Yeah.
I love that.
If you watch Guy's Instagram at all, he is like an expert with hair and color, which like is very nuanced.
We might be turning Ed blonde or gray soon, so stay tuned for that.
Or
Maybe.
blue
there's
or
been
purple.
Okay, maybe. Okay, maybe.
And he's gonna get a perm.
Yes, a perm. We want
Maybe.
a perm.
We'll see.
Maybe in the next couple of weeks you'll see a big
Leave
gray
your comments
perm.
below
Yeah.
if you want Ed to get a perm.
Yeah.
Leave your comments below. If we get up to 10 comments of yes,
Oh my
of Ed
God.
getting a perm,
Just 10.
10, and he'll do it, and we'll film a whole video of him at the salon getting a digital perm.
Dun,
In
dun.
K-Town. 10 comments. Yeah.
Only 10 comments.
10 comments.
You
Leave
think
it
we can
below.
get 10 yeses? I think we can do it.
Okay, 10 yes comments below to Ed getting.
There's gonna be 10,000.
You're gonna love it.
There's gonna be 10,000.
He's gonna be addicted. I know
God,
he
you're
will.
gonna look so good. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I'm not doing this to just like fuck with you. I think you'd look amazing.
Well, see, this goes back to another situation. You're stereotyping perms.
There you go. See
Yeah.
what you've done.
I'm
You see what you've
stereotyping
done.
the perm I got when I was 7.
See, you were traumatized.
I was
but you're
traumatized.
judging off of one perm you had.
It's true.
Exactly.
So you
Since then, perms have evolved into so many different kinds.
Yes, Ed. What did we learn today about stereotypes? You can't judge off of one bad experience.
It's true.
There's a big 9-inch out there
Oh,
for
jeez.
everyone, and there's
I'm so easily.
there's a good
pressured.
perm for you. Okay.
A 9-inch perm. What am I saying? I don't even know. I'm a people pleaser.
Full circle.
I love this. This has been the best day.
Susie loves watching me squirm. She literally tells me every
It's
day.
my favorite thing.
And was it? Shibal.
Shibal!
Well, again, Guy, thank you so much for being here. We cannot tell you how over the moon we are that you were here with us today. And getting Ed to agree to get a silver perm has
That's
been the best.
dependent on people.
Okay, 10 people comment yes. Done.
Okay, done.
But we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We hope you join us again. I mean, we have a lot of time that we'll be spending together in the future. I can feel
Yeah,
it.
we're gonna eat
feel
so
it.
much food.
We're gonna sing.
I'm hungry now.
I know.
Oh yeah, we're also gonna go to
Literally.
karaoke one day.
Karaoke, we're gonna go to the hair salon. There's so many
Chimchibang.
desserts
Yes.
we're gonna go to the spa. We're gonna do all kinds of shit. This is gonna be
Everything.
great. Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for watching and for liking and commenting yes on this post. So that
But
yeses.
while we're here, while we're winding down, you can find Guy on his socials.
On Instagram, it's Guy_Tang, and it's Guy Tang on TikTok. And I don't really know how to do TikTok that well, so I'm asking Ed for tips.
you're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah,
And Facebook
we got
too.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Soogia1.
And you can find me on everything at Etch-a-Sketch with a J. And you can also find WhatintheShibal at WhatintheShibal. That's it. I was going to say .com.
One more thing. You still have time to submit your stories of dating, interracial dating, same-sex dating, funny stories about dating, because we still want to hear them. And you can send them to our email at WhatintheShibal at
Gmail.com.
Thank you guys so much. We love you, and we'll see you again soon.
Wait, but if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and ring that bell.
Subscribe.
And on that note, thank you for joining us. And
Okay, bye.
Did I do it right on time?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that
was
was great.
perfect. Guy, you were amazing.
Yeah?
You were
That
fucking
was great.
amazing. I felt like I wasn't even, like, not that I wasn't here. I felt like I was like, I'm just going to listen to Guy talk for the next 5 hours. I could just hear you go on and on. It was amazing.